Hello, I'm Derek Terry, host of I'm Not Complaining, I'm Just Saying. Here at one of my favorite spots, the barbershop, where we know if you're gonna complain here, then you better provide solutions.
Good.
It's good. I firmly believe when we make other people's problems part of our conversations without providing solutions or prayer, then we become part of the problem. I want to be able to provide people with a platform where they can freely express their views on such topics as education, social issues, health and fitness. Now that's good. Or sports. So please join me so we can complain and provide solutions together. Hey, what's going on, peeps? This is your man, Derek Terry, host of I'm Not Complaining, I'm Just Saying. Wherever you're gonna complain, bring some solutions to the table. Hey, welcome to episode 4 of season 7. And it's part of my voter education series where I'll be interviewing Charles County, Maryland candidates running for commissioner, as well as the Board of Education. Just want to let you know that today's guest will be Shawna Mayo Marks, who's running for Charles County Board of Education at large. Just real quick, just kind of want to give people a premise of the show. I sent out emails to every registered candidate, commissioner, and Board of Education, and I can't guarantee you if they'll accept or not. If there's a candidate that did not receive an invite, please let me know. In addition, none of my guests, and in this case, candidates, pay a fee, nor does any local business or nonprofit that may want to advertise. This is my way of giving back to the community and ensuring, regardless of political affiliation, that each candidate is ready to bring some solutions to the table. All the interviews will be based on the candidate's platform or anything directly related to the campaign. I don't ask got you questions, meaning that if it's on your platform, it's fair game. So you can't be upset. I'm going to ask something about your platform. I research every candidate, believe me. There's not really too many things that I don't know about these candidates, as well as their platform. But I will not 100% agree with any candidate, nobody. But I will 100% agree to disagree. So with that, let's bring in our special guest, Ms. Shawna Mayon Marks, who is running for Charles County Board of Education at large candidate. So welcome, Shawna, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so gave the audience an introduction of somewhat of who you are, or what you're running for. But I kind of want to give you the opportunity to tell us about the person, Shawna Mayo Marks, not the candidate, but the person.
So, all right, thank you. So I'm married to a retired Army veteran. We have 5 kids. I see. Thank you for your service. We have 5 kids. Our oldest is 22. We have a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, a soon-to-be 11-year-old, and an 8-year-old. 3 of them attend one of them attend Charles County. She's graduated, and 2 of them, one is in a freshman and one is in the 3rd grade. We live in La Plata. We've been in the county for about 9 years now. And we've pretty much done everything. My youngest, he's been there from kindergarten up. My oldest son, he's been there for 1st grade and up. And then we had one, she came in her middle school year. Yeah, middle school. So it was about 7th, 8th grade she came. I am originally from Illinois. I was born at Great Lakes Navy Base, and I've lived all over.
Okay, so I guess we have similar backgrounds. I'm a military brat.
Okay, and, yeah. My dad served in the Marines. Yeah, he's a Marine.
And I did 8 years in the Army Guards, but ended up doing 20 years in the Air Force Guard Reserve, where I retired in 2017. I pretty much just trying to find a hat that matched my shirt. So that I ended up with that. But with that said, definitely thank you for your brief overview of who you are as a person. So let's pretty much get into it. Why did you decide to run for Charles County Board of Education at large versus your respective district? Because for people who don't know, there's 4 districts and there's an at large. So you kind of have to pick which one you want to do. So why did you choose to do the one at large?
I chose to do the one at large is because of my platform. I'm the founder of Charles County Moms of Color. I'm also the co-founder of Maryland Moms of Color. It's a Facebook group of parents all across the county, Charles County Moms of Color, and they come from all kinds of backgrounds, race, gender, moms, ethnicity, but they are all over. And with that platform, I have seen a safe place where moms can come and discuss issues that they're having at the school. And I felt that at large, that I will be reaching out to all those moms, especially the ones that are in our group that have come to me personally with issues that they have had in the school system. And a lot of those issues don't really have to do with teachers, because we have really amazing teachers in Charles County. We have really amazing principals and assistant principals, but it's the upper leadership that they have seemed to have issues with, or not being, not responding to things, or not following through with things.
Okay, so I guess on the basis of elimination, I wouldn't qualify for that Facebook group. However,
but if your wife would,
yeah, I'll tell her about it. And
so and the moms be like, my husband has a question, so, or my son's father has a question, so, and we've asked the dads to create a group for them too. Oh, they have, but you can.
Yeah, I'm not, but. But what I can suggest is that make sure that you share this interview with them so they can get an opportunity to look at it. Okay, so your campaign slogan, it is the change we need, the voice we deserve. Let's look at it sort of like I'm at the polls and I approach you and I say, okay, what does this mean? Give me your 30-second elevator speech. What does this mean?
It's time for change. It's time for us to step up for our kids. It's time for us to step up for our teachers. It's time for us to step up for our support staff, because teachers they're the one profession that teaches everybody. And we're losing them by the droves. There are colleges that no longer have teacher education as a major. Who is going to teach our kids? Everybody can't afford private school.
This is true. This is true. So what I want to do real quick, I really hope this is your this is your web. This is you.
Is it you?
I really hope. Is this yours?
Yes, that's me.
Because I was looking at, I couldn't find a picture with just you. So. And then, everyone looks different when you see them on camera, and I'm like, wait a minute.
And then I cut my hair, so that didn't help.
So okay. I just wanted to give people an opportunity to see one of your campaign material. And this is Shawna. This is her website as well as her email address. And for those who don't know, you're running for at large. This covers the entire Charles County. So for those who don't know, you really want to pay attention. These other ones, I don't know what that is, but the colors represent each district. So you have District 1, which is sort of like I guess a rusty, whatever. District 2, green. District 3, where I live at, it's purple. And then District 4, which is brown. And these are broken into population, not necessarily square mileage. So as you can see, the largest ones is, as far as square mileage, is District 1 and District 2, which means
those they have more rural areas.
Yeah. So just kind of wanted to share that with everybody, and I'm going to bring up your website. So give me a second. Where'd it go? Well, as I'm looking for that, let me get into the first question, and then I'll look for that as we're talking. So we want to address your platform first. Your first issue is family community engagement. what is your plan to increase family and community engagement?
So my first plans for family is that we have a diverse population in Charles County. With that being said, we need to make sure that when we send material home to parents, if English is not their primary language, that we're putting it in their language. If it's Hispanic, if they're Hispanic, they want it in Spanish, Spanish. If they want it in French, French. Because we forget that there's people from all over the world that live in Charles County. So we need to make sure that when we're sending home information about the schools, that they can not only just read it, but they can understand it. And if English is not their primary language or their first language, they may not understand what exactly is being sent home. Community engagement is we, over the years, and I was, pushed to go to college. Well, my son, my 14-year-old, he does not want to go to college. He wants to be a mechanic. He has made it clear he likes working on cars. He does not want to go to college. He does not want student loan debt. And so with that being said, we need to work with the community because we can't, it will be, if we had we don't have enough spaces for everybody, then that's fine. But we can work with the community to have internships with the community with our kids, and they can go and do internships, take the test, and become certified.
So specifically, you're talking about the business community.
The business community, okay. Yes. Okay. So working with the business community to help us educate our kids. So my ex-husband, he texted me a few months ago, and he was like, hey, the mechanic has had my car for like 2 weeks because they don't have any mechanics. And it's because, we have pushed college, and college is great. I went to college, but it's not for everybody. So we need to ensure that, our kids can also go outside of that. We need plumbers. We need HVAC techs. We need other things besides things that go to college. And if we work with our community, we can help our kids do those things. And, if they, real good, they can get a job afterwards. So they can have, be putting back into the community that they lived in and graduated from.
Okay. All right. So what I was able to get your website up. So as I go through this, people can be multitask. They can listen to you and they can go through, or they can just really go to the website as I go through it. So your next issue, it focuses on mental health and socio-emotional support. There clearly isn't enough time in the school schedules to address the social emotional issues. I'm just speaking from experience. There's a lot of emphasis on academics, but there's very little on social skills and conflict resolution. How will one or two, and it just, as I look through this, you had mentioned the need for mental health counselors or professionals, but how will 1 or 2 mental health counselors be able to address these issues during a normal school day?
So we need more. We need more mental health counselors, and it's going to be hard, but I don't think it's not doable. So just a little background about me. When I was 9 years old, my dad was killed. And
sorry to hear that. My condolences.
Thank you. He was a armed security guard at a club, and it was my teachers and my counselors and my mom that helped me through it, because my mom contacted the school and the school knew what's going on. I remember I was like 16th, I was like a junior, and I was taking a law class, and a student has said that she had wished the president would be killed. And it hurt me. And I was like, I flipped out and I walked out the classroom, and instead of the teacher like writing me up or sending me a referral, she called my mom, and my mom was like, yeah, she probably did take it back because she herself has dealt with that situation. And it was that and the counselor, and the teacher asked me, can I address this to the class so people understand what's going on? And so she did. And she was like, you have to remember, you can't just say anything because people are going, you don't know what somebody else is going through. So there's not a time of day to save everybody, but those little things like that helped me. And also that girl said, I am so sorry. I never thought about his family.
Yeah, I think in that particular case, it worked out. Mm-hmm. But let's say you have that one child where it may take the whole day just to deal with that one child, and you have 1 or 2 counselors. As it stands now, the counselors on a teacher pay scale, mm-hmm. or there may not be anything set up for them. So believe me, that's a lot to deal with for a shortage. I mean, even on military level, we have a shortage of counselors. So, and the reason I say this, although I'm not optimistic that this will be solved. So what you mentioned was the village concept, where the teachers, and we'll get into, which kind of leads into our next thing, the teacher recruitment and retention, where some of that is going to be, I wouldn't say the burden, but the responsibility of the teacher. So one of the things you talk about in your teacher recruitment and retention is pay increase. And I'm just being honest. I left the teaching profession in 2017. You pay me $100,000, 120, I still wouldn't come back. Now, I'm still involved in educating, but I would not come back as an educator because I know pay alone is not going to solve the problem, because there's so many other things that school systems do not want to address. And I'll say unions, associations as well. They're just as much to blame as the system, because with more money comes more responsibility. My thing is that we've been doing this for a while. You should be compensating me for the free time I've given you. So the question is, do you feel that pay increase alone will boost recruitment and retention? Why or why not?
No. We don't treat teachers like humans. They're like these robots that, we pay you to do this and you should do this. And it's more to that. It's more, like you said, it's more to the pay. It has a lot to do with respect. It has a lot to do with being passionate that, teachers are humans. They have families. They have bad days, It's amazing. Like, as an adult, we can be like, I'm having a bad day, and people just accept it. If a child or a teacher say, I'm having a bad day, well, what you having a bad day for? It's a problem with that. So we need to address everything, the class sizes, it's mind-boggling to me. And of course, I don't know everything, that somehow if you're a daycare provider, like an in-home daycare provider, you can only have 8 kids in your care. But somehow teachers can have 35 kids in their care.
Yeah, you got that right.
So
and when you do the pay, and when you do the pay per hour,
yes,
the school system's getting over.
Yes.
Or the parents are getting over, really, to some degree. But
yeah. And I saw this teacher, and she said, okay, if I'm only nothing but a glorified babysitter, then pay me like one.
Yeah, well, we know that.
And then when you do the math for a babysitter, we owe a whole lot more money. Well, but okay. I think it's just, we need it. There's going to be, it's multi levels to this. Pay is one of them. Another one is treating teachers with respect. Another one is, letting them have a voice of what's going on. We tend to change things, and we never ask them, hey, we changed such and such. Is that working? Is that good? Is that beneficial? Is that helpful? And if it's not, then fix it. How having teachers have a voice. I suggested like a teacher senate, that one teacher from each school be elected and sit to the board with your questions, your concerns, your issues, things you need to change, things you need, so you can have that voice.
Well, they kind of have that, which goes through the association, which then channels into, but this is just my opinion on association.
Isn't that kind of like the phone? Have you ever played the phone game?
Yeah. Where
by the time you get down,
yeah,
whatever you said, it was like totally different.
Yeah. And this is just my opinion. I feel the associations and the unions to some degree are full of it, because you're fighting the same issues every year. Every year you're fighting the same issues, and no one wants to stir the pot. And to me, the role of the Board of Education is, well, guess what? If you're not listening to what the teachers are saying, then damn it, stir the pot. And we'll see. So I kind of want to continue to move with your platform. But before I get to another part of the platform, you mentioned we have talked about pay. And I'm not going to go into great detail, because really it can be a conversation for another day. But the Maryland Blueprint addresses some of the pay issues, addresses some of the program issues. I guess for me, what I have a problem with, as someone's an educator, people are always saying, yes, we're going to pay for this, we're going to pay for this, we're going to pay for this. And then you find out it's not being paid for. Now, the Maryland Blueprint is supposed to provide the legal framework in order to get paid, but it's not for a long period of time. So the question to you is, if elected, how deep are you going to go into the Maryland Blueprint to ensure that we are doing everything we need to do to help students, staff, and the community as a whole succeed? Just briefly, because that wasn't really one of the questions, but I wanted to touch on it.
Well, if we don't follow the Maryland Blueprint, we lose state funding. That's the number one. So we have to follow it. We have to make sure we're crossing those T's and dotting those I's, because the last thing we want to do is lose funding. So we have to make sure we're on top of that. Even as, a parent, a community leader, an activist, everybody should be holding the Board of Education responsible for that, because that's going to hurt our children. And that's the last thing we want to do. That's going to hurt our children, and that's going to hurt our teachers.
Well, keep in mind is ensuring that the superintendent follows that blueprint.
Yes, and isn't
holding them, because some people may not want to hear it, but the next board is going to determine who the next superintendent will be, or whether or not we will retain the current superintendent.
Yeah. So if the superintendent is not doing what she's supposed to be doing, then she has to go, because we have an obligation. The Board of Education has an obligation to ensure that the Maryland Blueprint is being followed. And I have reviewed the blueprint, and a lot of the things are amazing. There's some things I'm a little nervous about, because they're not really sure how they're going to meet certain criteria. And that's just being honest.
Yeah.
So that is sitting down and making sure we're getting it done. And and the community is going to have to help us with it, because a part of it is private daycare private childcare providers. Private childcare providers assisting with the pre-K program, but they also have to meet certain criteria to be eligible for it. And I know personally how hard it was to find private pre-K, because my son had to go to private pre-K, and we literally signed up him, I believe, like 7 or 8 months in advance, because there was only 20 spots at that particular childcare facility. So, and we also need to realize, like, pre-K is very important. Like that pre-K, people, oh, it's just pre-K, but like that's like the foundation of children's education. And they have studies have shown, kids that go to pre-K are more successful. Usually they have a little bit more that extra boost. So, it's very important for us to follow that blueprint. And if the superintendent is not doing it, which I have been to some of her meetings, and she looks like she's on board, and she's, put some steps in to make sure we're following it. But that's the board's job to ensure that, we're meeting each deadline and meeting it on time.
Okay. So we're going to move on to your transportation is one of the issues. Currently our school busing fleet, it's under contract, but there might be some current or future discussions about Charles County Public Schools making the bus drivers permanent employees or buying a fleet. As it stands, we have approximately 80% of our students being that ride the bus to school. With that being said, bus drivers aren't going to be paid the comparable amounts, comparable to their counterparts on the private side who have CDL licenses. It's just not going to happen. Well, I'm going to say not, but it's difficult. Contractors, the companies are in the game for profit, not service. Well, let me take that back. It's profit. They do provide a service, but no contractor is going to get into the game without making a profit. So they can reduce the overall pay for their drivers. They can say, hey, we put in for 50, but the range is 25 to 50, but they don't have to pay them 50. They can pay them 25 or whatever. I'm just throwing numbers out there. So how will the county be able to, one, afford the buses, the salaries, and the pensions without requesting an enormous increase in the budget? Because that there's gonna have to be to cover the pensions, the salaries, and the bus fleet. And how do you get public buy-in for all this?
So that is a good question. I think funding is, looking at the budget, we continue to build new houses, and supposedly some of that money from those new houses was supposed to go to a school tax. Every time I look around, there's a new house being built. I think, and I agree, it's kind of comparing a CDL truck driver to a bus driver, but at the same time, a bus driver is very important. We saw how not having bus drivers, them on strike, which I totally support bus drivers, because when I went and talked to some of the bus drivers, and some of the things that they were doing was just not driving that bus. One bus driver, she had one kid that never came to school with a lunch. So she was providing her a lunch every day. Another one was being teased because her hair wasn't being combed. She was combing that little girl's hair every day. So that's where that community comes in with, oh, she just drives a bus. No, she's not driving a bus. She's driving the most precious cargo for a lot of parents. Their most precious cargo. She's driving them back and forth to school. They are, for some bus drivers, those, they are making those children's day. One lady, she said the kids love Popeyes, so she had Popeyes chicken for them. So I think we need to think of them. They're essential. They're important. Every job in our school system is important. We cannot do it just, it's just not teachers. It's just not administration. It's not just board of education. It's staff people. It's the janitors that keep the schools open late for the plays and clean up after them. It's it's the bus drivers to ensure that the kids get to and from school. And they should have a living wage where they can live in the county that they service. A lot of them cannot live in the county, and they come for 45 to an hour away and to get to Charles County to drive the school buses. And the contract should show, I get it, it's about profit, but we also have to think about people and humans, and that they have the right to be able to live. So with that being said, we have to figure it out. We have to look at the numbers. Where are we wasting money at? They just launched or about to launch a CCPS app.
Yeah,
is that something we need? Is that something we need?
I think with the way that we're evolving as a society, I would say yes. Only because most people, they're using these. So do I want to go to a website, or I want to go to an app? And it's easier sometimes to go to an app. Now, what the cost of that is, that I don't know. But if they're developing it now, it was already included in the budget. So it's not something where we're wasting it because it was already included in the budget. The only, to me, negative about that is that the school system gets to keep money. They don't have to turn it back into the county. And that's the only government agency that has to do that, because the way that our government is structured. So, but that's a whole different conversation. So let's, because I want to make sure that I'll be mindful of your time. So your next issue is unfinished learning. And I said, wow, I like that. I like how that sounds. Unfinished learning. Sort of like unfinished business, but unfinished learning. And it's a multifaceted approach. Now, I want to quickly address two things. You have the effective tutoring programs. Now, the question is, who will be providing the tutoring? And will this tutoring be during school hours or after school hours? Keeping in mind that teachers are under no obligation to tutor unless it falls within a special ed student for compensatory or part of their services, whatever.
That's true. They're not tutoring, but we can create a tutoring program for our young people to help tutor younger students.
Oh, okay.
I hear a lot that there's not a whole lot to do, and it's really not. I live in La Plata. We have a rec center, Milton Summers, but if there's something going on at Summers, it's closed. But we can use our kids, I always hear like kids like, I need a, tutor, peer tutoring.
Okay.
Have teenagers tutor elementary kids, have middle schoolers tutor elementary kids. We have to figure it out. And unfinished learning it's not just the pandemic. Looking at the numbers from 2019, we were already a little behind. The pandemic just made it a little bit worse. And we have an obligation to ensure that our children are learning and learning properly. And we have to come together as a community and figure out how we can ensure that our children are learning.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for the clarity on that, because if I looked at it, I'm thinking as an educator, but the peer point.
And if teachers want to, then they should get compensated for that, because that's beyond their time. But if they feel like they want to do that, then sure. And we do have some programs, like my son was in reading recovery at Mitchell, and it was absolutely amazing. And he graduated from it. But guess what? He had amazing reading recovery teacher, Mrs. Oliver. And Ms. Oliver gave him books for the summer to ensure that he continued to build onto that. Okay. And she would email me and be like, hey, how's Quint doing? Is he doing good? Now, she went out her way to do that. And that, doesn't have time for that. Teachers have students. Yeah. We forget teachers are parents. They're humans. Yeah. They have lives. Yeah. So,
and that is something I definitely wish that the general public would realize, is that every teacher has a different situation. Like for me, it wasn't that I didn't want to do it. I had, I make my mark in the community doing a variety of different things that may not have been directly with the school. So I just want to keep that in mind. Now, you have the summer learning opportunities outside of summer school. Well, summer learning opportunities. So they do have summer school, but that's really for those who need to go because they didn't do well in a particular class.
See, and that was another issue. Right. I asked, if your kid did not do well, you got to go to summer school. If your kid was doing fine, they didn't get to go to summer school. And it was like,
but remember, the summer, when we mean this, the way it's set up now, because remember, you still, in order to do summer school, you still have to have teachers that are going to teach it. I do know, and I don't know about this school system, but there was a couple school systems, they couldn't get enough teachers to do summer school. Mm-hmm. And you can't force them. So guess what? They were
there was no summer school
in what they could do. But we also have what they call ESY, extended school. What did I do? ESY. I'm so used to saying ESY, but that's typically for SPED students. But that's more just I call it retainability type courses, where they just go over things that if I ask you what 2 + 2 is, can you remember it? No, if you can't remember it, that's the whole purpose of ESY. Just really students who have those long-term memory issues. Mm-hmm. The learning gaps. When we talk about the learning gaps, are you talking about like reading comprehension, reading fluency, math calculations, emphasis, etc.? Or are you talking about, those are just some of the different issues, but is that what you're referring to when you talk about learning gaps?
Yeah, that was the big, when you look at reading, when we started in the fall, only 10% of, I want to say, first graders was on reading level. So that means 90% of our students were below. And that was for, elementary students. And then they look at, I believe it was 5th grade for math, and the numbers were pretty similar. And we have increased that number of on level, and I want to say it increased about 10%. Okay. But we still have a lot to do, and it's reading comprehension, and ensuring, kids can read and understand what they're reading. And then it's the math skills that they should have on their level. Okay. And, and I tell my kids, I don't care what you want to do, you're going to have to learn how to read.
Yeah, and comprehend
what you're reading. So you can read all this, but if you don't understand what you're reading, it's not going to be helpful. Yeah. And I tell my youngest, because he struggles a little bit with math, I'm like, you want to be a businessman. If you don't know your math, somebody's going to rob you blind. And he's like, Mom, don't say that. I'm just being honest with you. You have to be able to count.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. When I taught math, when I taught in Baltimore City, I would always tell my students, or I'd give them a scenario. I said, what's the bigger deal? 3 for $1.50 or 50 cents a piece? Oh, sure, 3 for $1.50. I said, it's still 50 cents. The store wants you to get 3 versus get 1. You're not getting the deal. They're actually getting an additional $1 because they put the special up there. Oh, and I said, look, if you don't care about math, let me be your accountant. I'll hustle you all day, every day. So, you know, and you made a good point with your son. So there's a couple more I want to get through. Your students will learn differences. And I mentioned before, I'm a special educator. There's so many issues involving special education. Hopefully I
I
can have
know.
you back,
I'm a
on
special
another
education
show.
bonus
Yeah.
mom. I'm a
I can
special education.
oh, okay.
So I know how it is.
Yeah.
My
So,
bonus daughter has autism. So
yeah. So one of the biggest gripes or concerns that I get, and I'm also an special education advocate, Educare, putting in my plug, is I advocate for parents who are simply not getting their questions answered with Charles County Public Schools, but a variety of different school systems. And I'm coming in with the experience telling them that you would hope as a special educator, well, the system is supposed to service the student. But as a case manager, you're supposed to look out for the school first, school system, and then the child next. So the complaints I get is that I don't understand the IEP. They're not following the IEP and all the other things which involve the IEP. So my question to you is, these issues we've been having special education aren't going away. There's an increase, it's going to be an increase in students. And my guess is that there'll probably be more of an increase because of this gap. What do you say to a parent that says, you know what, I've tried to do everything that I can for my child, and the school simply is not listening? What do you tell that parent? Because you're limited in what you can do as a board member, but what is it that you tell that parent?
As a board member, you reach out to the school and see what's going on. Why are you not following the IEP? What's going on? What's the issue? There needs to be some talking done, some discussions done. Like I said, I have a bonus daughter that has autism. There was some back and forth before we all got on the same page, but that took meetings, that took some communication. Why are you not following the IEP? What is going on? What is hindering you from following the IEP?
Yeah. Now where I disagree, and the reason I say this is because I see a lot of parents put stuff on social media, and I'm a big, military, I'm a big chain of command.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is, okay, yeah, you went to the board, but why didn't you contact the head of special ed, compliance, address them first? Because
and a lot of times,
yeah,
those people don't even know the issue.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So that's why you can't go to them first.
And being a military family, and I'm a federal worker by day, I'm big on the chain of command. I can't fix something as a supervisor. I can't fix nothing if I don't know my person is doing something wrong. I can't change it.
So that's why I tell them, I said, rather than go to the board first, don't go to the board, because the board is not really gonna know what's going on. As a board member, I'm saying, well, you need to contact the head of special ed. If you did everything you can do at the school, remember, somebody has a boss. But when we talk about special education, go to head of special ed, go to compliance. Because believe me, when I advocate for these parents at these meetings, there's always somebody from the board there. Not board member, always, because they know I know my stuff. And I'll say I have 100% success rate, meaning that there was stuff that was found that was out of compliance every time. So,
and I'm a firm believer of holding people accountable. Like, hold people accountable. If that's your job, to do that, then that's what you need to do. But of course, and I've heard, like, I had a situation with bullying, and the school never contacted the bully's parents, the person doing the bullying. So when the parent took upon themselves to contact that parent, the parent's like, what?
Whoa.
He's doing what? She's like, oh my God, I didn't know. You should have told me. I would have stopped it. Like, and I'm the same way. If my kid is doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, let me know, because I'm going to stop it. My kids know better. Like, and as a parent, I'm going to hold myself and my children responsible for that. But if you don't know what's going on, how can you do that?
Yeah, and I think it kind of tied, kind of skipping around with your transparency and communication. I think, just my opinion, the county as a whole they need an education on how to communicate and when to communicate to me, social media is not the way to do it. It's just my opinion. It just
because everybody's not on social media.
Yeah, everybody's not.
My husband is not on social media.
Yeah. And when there's issues with my child, I directly contact the school and I go through the process. Yeah, it's sometimes frustrating. Yeah, but once you go to parents don't understand. Once you go to social media and you put your kids' names and teachers' names out there, then guess what? You made a public record at that point. I'm not going to subject my child to all this because I'm still trying to deal with the problem. And remember, there's 3 sides to every story: your side, their side, then there's truth. And if things are being investigated, then social media to me is just not the platform.
Yeah, so, and as as a criminal justice major and professional, I also know how that can be harming your case.
Yeah.
So you just have to be careful when you do, that. And I know some parents, they just feel like it's the last resort, but I also think that it needs to be clear, and that's on the school to let people know, who do you contact when, IEPs are not being followed? Who is the chain of command? Have you talked to this person and they haven't, then you go to this person, then you go to this person, and then you go to this person. So everybody knows, and there's a trail that you have done X, Y, and Z to ensure that your kid is getting the tools that he or she needs.
Okay. So your last thing was COVID relief funds. The reason I'm not going to go too much into that because those funds are going to run out. So
yep, they are.
They're going to run out. So but what I wanted to end with is what I call like a word association. And let me go ahead and stop the sharing. So basically, I say a word, you give me a 10-second spiel of what you think about it. So, and I'll give you the example: Dallas Cowboys.
Amazing football team.
There you go. So Charles County Public Schools. Amazing.
Great teachers, great principals, great admin, a community, helping our children to be the best they can be.
Okay. School safety.
It's important. Every child should go to school and be felt safe, feel comfortable, shouldn't be scared to go to school.
School staff.
Amazing. We need them. We need to pay them properly. They should not be making less than somebody working at Wendy's. I'm sorry. School secretaries, love them. First people I see always greet me with a smile. They know my name. How do you know 1,000 parents' names?
All right. School resource officers.
They're needed. They can bring a community together. In general, I feel bad for police officers because they get a bad name when they're really some amazing police officers that have done some amazing things, and a few bad apples have destroyed that for them.
Student athletes.
I love student athletes. They're students first. And my daughter, she was a cheerleader, and to cheer, she had to have a 3.0 because that was her coach's goal.
Charles County?
Yep, St. Charles High School.
Well, they got away with that one because technically you can't do that. But
that was her standards, and I think it's because the parents were okay with it because she wanted them to get scholarships, and you have to have a certain GPA to get scholarships.
Yeah, well, I ain't hear that, but and the last one, the Maryland Blueprint.
Let's use it to our advantage and make our school system better.
Okay, so that's a wrap. And once again, I definitely appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, especially on the weekend, to have this interview. But what I want to do is put up your information again. This is Shawna's website as well as her email address. So if you want to support her in any way, get information, ask questions, whatever it may be, here's a means.
Educate me, because I'm still learning.
Yeah. And, I just encourage everyone to, educate themselves on the candidates. I don't have a stake in this game when it comes to endorsing candidates, anything like that. I just tried to endorse voter education. And so I wish you and the rest of the candidates best of luck. And hopefully I can have you on again or see you along the campaign trail. And once again, thanks to everyone. Peace and blessings. And see you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Hold on for 1 second. Sorry about that. We got technical
No problem.
difficulties.
Take your time.
Blaze the path.